on air as of now. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I am Don Wettrick with my host, Hunter Stone.
I'm Hunter Stone.
We have started StartEdUp, and one of the things that we have done is we've put together some innovation training, some genius hours, some classes that are going to be helping out teachers. But the other thing we wanted to do is kind of just get our message out. And our message is education has changed quite a bit, and we want to make sure that people outside of education can also have a chat inside of education. So we've got a lot of guests already lined up. The weird thing is a lot of them are people outside of education as well. I know that I go to a lot of conferences, and it seems as though I hear from the same people every time. And no offense to those people, but I've heard the same message. And we've heard again and again and again that we need to change education, or we need to reform. And a little bit gets done here and there. But we've in Noblesville High School, we've kind of had this innovation class going for a while, and we wanted to ramp it up. And so Hunter and I and two other founders decided to get together and do something about it. So each week we're going to be having different guests and people that are a lot of times entrepreneurs and startup guys, but also people that are athletes. We've got some actors. We've got a lot of authors coming up. But this episode is on why we do what we do. So before I get into all of that, I want to introduce Hunter. And Hunter, I want you to explain a little bit about your journey, the class, where you're at now.
Absolutely. So hello, everybody. My name is Hunter Stone, and as Don has mentioned, I'm a graduate of his class. I'm a freshman here at Indiana University, which is actually where I'm recording this right now. And I'm a co-founder at StartEdUp. So one of the reasons that I decided to take this amazing journey with Don is because of the impact that his revolutionary style of education has had on me. If you're not too sure about Don's class or things that we've tried in there, there's a variety of sources you can get this information from, and I'm sure we'll be explaining all kinds of stuff about it in the coming videos. As a generalization, it's basically Genius Hour to the next level. It's taking passion-based and project-based learning and allowing students to grow, build confidence, and figure out what they want to do with their lives through some of the projects and some of the interests that they can explore in this class. So it's been absolutely amazing. For me, I started out as an app developer, and when I heard about Don's class, I really didn't know what to think about it, but I thought, that'll be interesting. I'll have a little bit of time to maybe work on some apps, and we'll just see what comes out of it. After taking Don's class, it was an absolutely amazing, at first it was a culture shock because it's taking everything we know about education, flipping it upside down, and forcing you to think like you've never thought before. I'm going to make a very long story very short here. With the amazing ability to collaborate, to grow, to explore new interests, my entire life has been changed. I have gained so much confidence. I've gained the ability to work with so many very talented and amazing people. I've explored all types of varieties of interests, whether it be, entrepreneurialism, manufacturing. I've explored all types of software development, and these things that I've learned have allowed me to grow, change my career path, and envision myself as the entrepreneur that I want to be. So this is why I'm so passionate about Don's mission and spreading this style of classroom to as many people as we can. Because I really believe, Don, that there are so many people out there that are on the brink of so much potential but aren't exactly sure how to realize it. And I think this is going to be an amazing way to help them out.
Yeah, let's go back. So if you're just joining us, we started a class, and actually I got to give credit where credit's due. Several years ago, I watched a Daniel Pink TED Talk, and I didn't know who Daniel Pink was. I just thought he was a guy that did a cool talk. That was it. I was dumb enough or naive enough to think I should give the guy a call. I ended up getting a hold of him, and he helped me start the class because in the Google Talk, or whatever you want to call it, the TED Talk, he talks about how Google, they have time to be able to work on the things that they always wanted to work on and not let work get in the way. And so I saw that and I thought, this is a great thing. We need to do this for education. I started it up at the school that I was at previously, and it was terrible. And it was terrible because students didn't know how to handle that freedom. And actually, Hunter, this is what I want to ask you. It was exponentially better than a couple of years later. But even you guys in our class, there were some people that struggled, especially for like the first couple months. Why do you think so many people your age struggle with creativity and freedom?
I think that a good way to start talking about this is the fact that I struggled in the first couple weeks of your class. If you remember, that group of friends and we had that idea for that very silly YouTube channel. I mean, basically you offered a really, that interesting environment to do whatever you want, but something had to come out of it. So people are really racking their brains for, okay, what can I do in this next short period that's going to result in some points? What can I show that makes me creative and that kind of stuff? And I feel maybe there's a stigma around tapping into your creative side sometimes and letting that be shown. And in addition, I feel like, a lot of people have no idea how to do that anyway, because education, modern education today does not, and education for all of the past doesn't reward creativity. It's all about, okay, can you take this information I'm giving you, repeat it back to me, and then do well on the test? It's all that kind of thing. It's memorization, it's repeating. I mean, yeah, sure, with some subjects, there's a little bit of, okay, can I comprehend and analyze, or can I be creative in art class? But I mean, it's nothing at this level where you're really forced to say, to make the choices of how you can have something that's going to impact in the way that the projects that we did in art class were able to impact.
So then explain to our audience, what was one of your breakthrough moments? When all of a sudden did you kind of get it? When did it snap for you?
That's a really interesting question, and that's something that I have been really, really interested in learning about a lot of others. That idea of when does, the motivation happen? For me, and I've been really trying to think about this for a long time because it's something that I do find super interesting. I'm trying to figure out exactly when and how it happened, because I remember being, trying to figure out, okay, how's my next app or my next game or my next little project or my next bit of helping out with somebody else gonna, get me some points in your class. And then, today, now I see everything as like, our mantra of opportunities are everywhere. I look at every situation with, okay, what can I do here to create something new or to be able to come out on top or to empower myself by empowering others and that kind of thing. So I think that switch really happened in me when I was able to watch the success that others were having. There are some students in the class that get it right off the bat and some that don't ever get it at all. And I think for me, that transition to really getting it was because I was able to watch what others could actually do. It wasn't all talk. It wasn't all super difficult. I feel like a lot of people hear entrepreneur or student entrepreneur and or innovator and that kind of stuff, and they think that it's a really, really difficult thing to do. And the most difficult part is just tapping into the mindset and really embracing it. That's it. I mean, I find it to be.
No, I'm going to push back on you on that. I think getting over that or understanding that mindset is tough. But I think one of the hardest things to do, and I'm not saying this about students, I'm saying this about everybody, is to do the things that you said you're going to do. That's hard.
Most definitely. But I think that I don't think that is exactly part of the getting it process, though. I mean, what I'm referring specifically to is the idea of, okay, wow, like if I actually cared, then this stuff could actually happen, or wow, what he's doing is really cool. If I could do that, or if I could start reaching out, I mean, it's all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And, some of the things that people were exploring weren't immediately interesting to me at all. I mean, like I said, I started out coding apps and that kind of thing. And, I think it's, me going to all my friends and seeing what they were working on and, actually finding out, I was really interested in the technical side of everything, how stuff worked, why it did. And I mean, I love the people and relationship sides of things too. I think, if you're focusing on the people, that's going to make anything successful. And, when I was able to see how those work in those different projects, that's what sparked my interest in those different fields. So having those interests and having that realization that, wow, stuff can really happen, inspired me to explore those more and apply some of the topics that we were talking about.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Sure.
I put a premium on reaching out to other people, and you know where I'm going with this.
I do.
One of the things that I love has been the amplification of our social media presence and
Yeah.
being able to interview great people. I already know who your favorite is. You can talk about him here in a second.
Oh yeah.
But why do you think it was important to hear from people that were, other than me, people smarter?
I think that you have a fantastic message, as I think if our viewers don't understand now, then I hope at some point they will. Um, and what you're doing is truly great. And to a lot of students, though, you're a really excited guy that likes to talk. And when they see that, they're like, oh, Mr. Wettrick's just going on and that kind of thing. But when you see somebody that's a multimillionaire or CEO of several successful companies or a well-respected self-help guru or what have you, and they're saying the exact same things that you are, then it really starts to hammer into people, wow, this is correct. That not only does that build your credibility, but it builds that, it's part of that enlightenment process almost in a lot of students. And, you mentioned, something back to the collaborative piece, since you brought it up, the idea of mentors. Mentors are also a huge part of the class, especially getting started. And, when I was, at the very beginning for me, when I was having my troubles, I didn't want a mentor. I didn't think I needed one. And honestly, I don't see how it would have, I didn't see how it would have helped me at the time. And, since I've started, since I've exited the world of app development and software development and started getting into a lot of the, I do a lot of entrepreneurial and business development sides of, several different companies that I've been grateful to work with. I really see how I am on the search to surround myself with as many successful and knowledgeable people as I can. I think mentors and the ability to collaborate and the ability to bounce ideas off of people is invaluable. I mean, it's really one of the most amazing things about this class is, the building of the confidence to say, this guy is really, a lot of people will just put a wall between them and a very successful person or someone that they idolize or something. And they'll say, well, I wish I could talk to him one day. I mean, we just say, we just tweet the person or go and find them and say, hey, do you have a minute? And it's really amazing how that works.
Yeah. But yeah, just this day, right? I mean, it was crazy. Like yesterday, and you kind of remember this is from being last year.
Oh, yeah.
Like this week was, we just got back from fall break. A lot of the students are getting it. They're getting like, okay, this is a project. They're going to roll with it. And so all of a sudden I said, this year you have to find an outside expert. So we read an article from Adam Grant. Shout out to Adam Grant, amazing guy, written 2 amazing books. And he wrote basically how to write a great email. So if you do want to collaborate, it's not just like, hey, help me now or whatever. And we even had a student who I'm not going to name names that learned the hard way. He sent an email that was very, you should help me because Don. So we did that. And then so saw these students like, okay, I wrote this great email. How do I send it to them? And I'm like, well, did you dig? Did you look up their information? Did you look for their
Google it? I mean, it's that easy.
Right. And in some cases they couldn't find it, and they're like, well, could you tweet them? And it just then occurred to them that you could ask. And then they're like, well, you've got a decent amount of Twitter followers. Maybe they'll respond to you. And I said, do you want me to send you a tweet? This was yesterday, I think about 40 tweets. You know how many we heard back from? About 28. That's a really
amazing.
Good percentage. Yeah, absolutely.
That's really amazing.
One of which was Tim Ferriss, and another one was Prince E. There's a couple of music producers that I've never heard of because I'm not cool. And then a professional gamer and some women's rights advocate and all this other stuff. And it like never occurred to them that the people that inspired you reach out to them. And
Exactly.
And then they were like, well, then why would they want to hear from me? I'm like, because the world wants to know that you're like, people your age give a damn.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And it's this, I mean, I think the fact that, you're a high schooler and that kind of thing really, it tugs at people and goes, wow, that's cool. That, a kid wants to reach out, I'll help him out. But I mean, it's also, I really think that anybody can do it. I really think that, if there's one thing that I've learned, it's a fake wall that we put between ourselves and others that we may, really want to connect with.
And most of those people that were, and we're going to eventually get to our bromance with Naveen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's those people that I think that are truly successful that earned it feel like if they see themselves in you. Like you're a hustler. And that's why when you get introduced to these people, they're like, oh my gosh, that kid. And they forget that you're 19 and they're like, because they see themselves. Now, no, we have ran into a couple of cocky celebrities that did not like, hey, you got 10 minutes, kid, talk.
Yeah.
And they didn't go over well with us. And even when we logged off, we were like, what a jerk.
Yeah.
But people like, if I can make shameless plugs, people like Steven Kotler, people like Naveen. I remember, and this is a cool story, and obviously, Hunter, you know how it goes down.
Yeah.
To the people listening, one time, over the summer, there's a show called Inside Quest. Tom Bilyeu gets the greatest guest that I've never heard of before, but I should have. It's the best way I can say it. A lot of entrepreneurial people, some authors, brain researchers, an incredible show. So I'm walking this summer listening to this guy named Naveen Jain. Never heard of him before. And the guy starts dropping wisdom. Like I stopped a couple times walking because I was that dumbfounded on his profound statements. So, I mean, like next week was the first week of school, and I get in, and like I think it was the third day of school. It easily was at latest the second week, and I'm like, we're gonna watch this. And I was gonna be mad if the kids didn't like, because there's sometimes if you think something's cool, people your age are like, well, it's not cool if you like it.
Yeah.
But, like I play this interview, and they're like, dang. So just to prove a point to the kids, I was like, let's see what happens. I take a picture of us, the class, watching his interview. And let's see what happens. And of course, 5 minutes goes. And actually, I had emailed him like the week before. I hadn't heard back. 5 minutes go by, and all of a sudden I get a notification, he's following you. And so I didn't want to interrupt the flow of the video, but I was like, a couple kids, I'm like, dude, he's following us. And then a couple like, well, he's what? I'm like, yeah. And then like a couple seconds later, he retweets. And I was like, oh my gosh. Before I can send him a DM, because he follows me, I get a DM saying that he's honored that as a teacher I'm showing his interview. And the kids watched in real time a multi-billionaire who was successful, who his heart was on the, I mean, if you're watching this, I'm not going to be offended. Stop watching this if you want and watch Naveen Jain's. No, don't. Finish ours. But watching him, and then all of a sudden, so then we, after he DMs, I'm like, hey, we'd like to Skype you and ask you some questions. And he's like, sure, let's do it tomorrow. And that was one of those things that the kids were like, that just happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, again, that I just find super important. I mean, that idea that you can connect with people like that is really, it's easier than anybody honestly thinks it is. And, in addition, I think that, I mean, I'm glad you brought him up, because I seriously, once you told me about him a while before the Skype interview, but I remember, because I had come to visit your students that day just randomly, and, they had the Skype interview, and just the things that he was saying is, were just so, exactly what you said. They were so profound, and they really embodied, the message that I really believe and I really want to spread. And I mean, like you were saying earlier, it's amazing when you have somebody of, such high success and ability to be able to, to spread a message like this. So, I mean, I did the same thing. I sent him an email. I said, I told him that I was part of the Skype call, and that I thought it was, I thought he was very wise, and it would be excellent to be able to keep him updated on my journey and that kind of stuff. I mean, and I'm being totally honest when I say this. Like, I didn't want anything from him, and I still don't want anything from him other than just the ability to say hello every now and then, because I mean, I really feel like when you surround yourself with as many people like that as you possibly can, that absolutely just get the message, then I mean, that's the best way. That's the best way to live your life. That's the best way to live your life.
And his Twitter feed is like your daily motivational, right?
It really is. Like, I'll get on Twitter in the morning. I'll be like, I can't believe he just said that. That's really amazing. I mean, it's really cool. So
for those watching, at Naveen Jain CEO. Yeah. And he'll make these tweets that you're like, no, that was so profound. and I hate to throw out the fact that, like, nice people are great no matter what. Like, I love nice people. But when like you meet a celebrity and they so much as like smile, people overreact. Like, oh my gosh, he's so nice. Like I saw Tom Cruise and he waved at me and he didn't call me a, jerk, get out of my face. He's the nicest guy ever. No, he's not. He just didn't flip you off. So I don't want to romanticize the fact that Naveen's successful and he has money. That, you even made the point. We don't want anything from him. It's just cool that somebody can get it. And by the way, is that successful?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think it's. For me personally, it's not the fact that he's like a celebrity or that status even, other than the fact that he really is just an amazingly wise person, and I really feel like, he says things that I can learn from and grow from, and that's really my goal. So, I made it my mission over the last year to try to connect with as many people that really get it like that, and. It's really what I like to do is I like to pull those weird bits of advice, or everybody thinks that they found like the key to life or that kind of thing. And I love hearing all of those because they offer just unique lenses to look at everything through, and very unique perspectives to view opportunities and almost anything in life. So, that's one of the reasons that I'm really excited to do this podcast, is because we've got some amazing guests lined up and some people that have extremely unique perspectives. So, there's going to be some amazing things and amazing things that I think our viewers will be able to take a lot from as well. So I'm really excited.
Okay, you just took my job. That was my job. Just to say that. I was joking. No, and if you're watching us live, thank you. But if you're not, if you're listening to this as the podcast, even the song that you heard up front was produced by a student. We want to showcase great student work, but this isn't necessarily an educational show. It's a show about startup culture, startup mindset, success, and how it could be found in education. We're going to have some teachers on the show, but we're also going to have a lot of successful student entrepreneurs like Hunter. You haven't even gotten into some of your successes, and you don't have to, because I know that you're a modest guy. But every new episode we have, the opening song is going to be by a different student who is marketing their music. We want to have students on the show. And by the way, we've got 20 guests lined up. But if you're listening to this and you think, oh, you need to talk to my son, or you need to talk to me, or you need to talk, or you're a teacher and you have a student that is boldly entrepreneurial, we want to interview them on the show. We want to showcase what is possible when the schools can offer some time and resources. And matter of fact, Hunter, follow up with that point, time and resources. Why is that so important for schools to do that?
Time and resources. Well, those are two things that I think, and it's all part of the idea of really getting why the class works. But, this is something that I really feel like I had wished I had taken a lot more advantage of when I was part of the class. I constantly, and that's one of the things that I struggle a lot with in these last few weeks, is that I have no time. I am a full-time student. I have 3 jobs, and I like to help as many others as I can. And, with a lot of homework, that's not easy to do any of that stuff. So it's, the ability to, when you're really passionate about working on something, the ability to have time, especially when during the school day you have a 90-minute slot is what we had, plus our study hall, we could come down to your room. All of that stuff was absolutely amazingly beneficial to us. And there were plenty of people that wanted to publicize what they were doing, or wanted to do projects where a lot of equipment was needed, or maybe they needed like a podcast center, or they needed a special camera with a special lens, or they needed special computers. Or I remember a project that I worked on with a couple of friends. Something that we did is we emailed the technology director for our district, and we got him to give us, I think it was like 30 old computers that they were going to throw away. And we turned it into we tried to do a bit mining server cluster, and they were just too slow. So what we did is we instead turned it into a a protein folding server cluster. And I mean, it was a lot of fun. So I mean, the resources aspect of it is, you know, a lot of schools will say they're doing a lot with high tech stuff, or they'll win awards for being high tech schools and that kind of thing. But just because you have a lot of technology doesn't mean you're actually doing anything really, really good with it. I mean, you may help students learn faster. You may allow them, you know, to think about problems in different ways. I mean, and that's very important, but I feel like the stuff that we were doing, the ability to have resources like we had was an absolute blessing, because I mean, we explored a lot.
I think the other thing that you're hitting on is that in a lot, and again, I agree, technology courses are great, but when you have a class where the outcome is known and you're headed towards that destination, it's like, you know, I haven't seen the movie Titanic because I know how it ends.
Yeah.
The boat sinks. I'm sure it's a great film. Don't write into this show. I know.
Have you really not seen Titanic?
No, I don't want to. It sinks. I know. I just.
Oh wow.
I haven't. So, but I think that when you guys were experimenting with technology, thinking, I don't know how this is going to end, but this is going to be fun.
Yeah, exactly.
And
even when we had
right, even though
like we had the
idea
idea
of
of the
stuff.
end. I'm sorry, there's a delay, so we keep talking over each other. I feel really bad about that. I'm not trying to do that. But we had like, even when we did kind of have the end in mind, like the bit mining thing, for example. I mean, I cannot tell you the struggles that we went through every step of the way to get any of that remotely close to how it was. And it totally flopped, and we were like, great, well, what can we do with all this stuff? And I mean, we researched some other things that required like computer clusters, and that you could, you know, apply your like nodes to work towards, and one of them was, you know, protein folding for like genetic research or whatever it ended up being. It was really cool. I mean, they were still extremely slow, but we were able to contribute and learn.
Great point. That's a great point. I just got out of a workshop where I was working with some elementary school teachers, and they said, you know, we tried Genius Hour, except some of the things didn't turn out the way the students thought. And I was like,
I don't think a single thing that we've ever done has probably turned out exactly like we thought.
I don't think any invention started off. And so I kind of explained that to them, and they're like, oh yeah. And of course, you know me, I make sense of the world by, you know, animated films. And I'm like, have you ever seen Meet the Robinsons? And they're like, oh yeah. Like, it's okay to also discover like, well, that blew up and didn't work. And that also is learning. And when you give kids an opportunity to still do things and it not turn out okay, and not say, well, you got an F. I didn't give you guys to get an F. I thought it was cool that we were going to throw those computers out. They were old and they were going to be in a landfill somewhere. And I'm like, have fun with it.
Exactly.
Well, I
hope that answered the time and resources question. I mean, you have, even if they're crap resources, I mean, no matter what you have, if you have that creativity mindset, then the time is super important, because you can embrace that and you can apply it to whatever resources you have.
Yeah. Well, and I think that if you were to describe what a school is and what it's there for, it's a place to learn. Learn what? Learn what curriculum? Well, it's a place that the student can learn some of the things that they want to learn. You know, I go to the library to check out books that I want to read. Exactly. I don't go to a library to be dictated. Now, and don't get me wrong, I love I don't think a Genius Hour 20% time is to replace education, it's to enhance it. So when you do provide time and resources, that is the greatest thing in the world. And as we talked a little bit earlier in the show, if you can reach out and introduce your students to great people, then you've opened them up to a network. And we're going to have future episodes on networking. Trust me, I've got 3 killer people lined up. But, you know, even teaching your students how to network, I think, is a skill that is not usually dealt with. And man, I think personally, I'm not just trying to brag about the class. I think our greatest breakthroughs have come because we network with people that show us different routes.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, I think that's how any learning occurs at all, is to explore all the different pathways you have. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I guess technically this is episode 1, and I guess you are kind of my guest. And normally my favorite question to ask at the end is, what is the question you wish people would ask you?
I have had an advantage because I knew you might ask that. And I unfortunately still haven't really decided what my answer to that is. And I've been thinking about it all day. I really wish that, and I hate like, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging about myself or anything, but a lot of teachers or like my old like elementary school teachers or something will say stuff like, wow, I wish whatever kid was like you, or I wish more students could grow up and be involved in the things that you're involved in and stuff like that. A lot of people are like, they want things to be like me. And, I wish they would always ask what the difference is between me and someone else. And I think the difference is really nothing, except I have found out that my life gets increasingly better every time I say, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to go after this. I'm going to take whatever opportunity I have and explore it. So I think that is really I wish that's the question people would ask me, and that's my answer. The difference between a person that could be on a path to success versus a person that's going to be on a path to complacency is getting out, giving everything you can a shot, and just trying to learn as much as you can along the way.
I can't wait to unleash, and I think in 4 more episodes, I cannot wait to unleash our audience on Brad Wolf, or unleash Brad Wolf on our audience. for those very reasons, about trying some things, taking some risks, and just saying, what the heck, let's go for it.
Absolutely. And yeah, I have plenty more to say about him, but I think we can save that for another time.
Very good. Well, thank you so much.
Excellent.
And if you please would like to subscribe, we're eventually going to be moving our channel here on YouTube Live. But just like a true startup, we didn't want to wait around for things to be perfect. So we started broadcasting from my personal Don Wettrick YouTube page. But we will be moving it to StartEdUp soon. If you are listening to this via podcast, please press that subscribe button. It would mean so much to us. If you'd also like to make a recommendation of a guest that you think, man, you got to listen to this girl, or you got to talk to this guy, we're all ears, because we want to showcase great success stories, whether they are students or whether they are great entrepreneurs who want to give back. Other than that, thank you, Hunter.
I would say, Don, if you're to any of our audience that's still out there, if you're interested in following up with things that I'm working on or things that I'm interested in, go ahead and follow me on Twitter. I'm at HunterStone1446. And if you're interested in Don and his students, absolutely hit him up. He's at Don Wettrick. Also, if you're interested in StartEdUp, the things we're working on, the mission we have, and the things we're trying to provide to as many students as we possibly can, please visit www.startedupinnovation.com.
Well played. Very good. Yes, and we would like to, if you need some help at your school, if you are a teacher, we try to provide all the resources we can at startedupinnovation.com. Very much so. All right. Well, Hunter, episode 1 in the books.
We did it.
Looking forward to it. Our next guest will be Nick Koyama, a student entrepreneur. He's no longer a student, but the guy is killing it. Can't wait for our audience to get a hold of Nick. Until then, thank you so much for joining us. Don Wettrick and Hunter Stone out.
Thank you.